Well, a clip is going viral of a Democratic governor triggering the shit out of Donald Trump, prompting him to threaten to withhold all federal assistance from her state of Maine. And then she replies with a very calm, stone cold mic drop, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got a couple of clips to play from this governor's breakfast, this governor's meal in which Donald Trump addresses. I thought it was all Republican governors, but apparently Democratic governors are in attendance as well. And this specific clip went viral. It's an exchange between Trump and Maine's Democratic governor, Janet Mills. We'll play the clip and unpack it together.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
So he's triggered as hell. She calmly says, "We'll see you in court," and then laughs at him when she's like, "It should be an easy one. You're not going to have a career after this." And listen, maybe he will win the ensuing court battles. It's entirely possible. He certainly has a 6-3 conservative supermajority at the Supreme Court, all right? But again, the fact that she is just very stoic, hey, listen, we're going to follow state and federal law, prompting Trump, because Trump was in front of other governors. He was hoping to bully, to single out, to isolate Governor Mills and intimidate her into compliance. And she kept in her seat. She calmly said, nope, we're going to follow state and federal law. You know, she didn't suggest she was being insubordinate or anything like that. We're just going to follow the law as I see it. Trump demanded fealty. She refused to give in. She refused to raise her voice or indicate any sort of visible discomfort. And it was Trump instead who was clearly pissed that his attempt to bully Governor Mills failed spectacularly. And now the clip is going viral. So the Hill breaks this down more. Donald Trump and Maine's Democratic Governor Janet Mills briefly quarreled at Friday at a National Governors Association session at the White House after Trump told a meeting of Republican governors he would withhold federal funding from the state over its refusal to comply with an executive order on trans athletes. In remarks Friday afternoon, Trump repeated the false claim that the two female Olympic boxers were transgender and touted a recent order meant to ban trans athletes from competing in girls' and women's sports, including at the 2028 Summer Olympic Games in LA. He asked Mills, who attended Friday's event, whether she would direct her state to follow the order. Maine's governing body for high school sports, the Maine's Principals Association, previously said it would not bar trans athletes from competing on teams that match their gender identity, citing a state anti-discrimination law preventing the organization from doing so. And of course, they go into the exchange, which you heard. She says, I'm complying with state and federal law. Then Trump responded with a threat, echoing a threat he made Thursday evening at a meeting for Republicans. While executive orders direct the government to enforce laws, they cannot override federal laws or statutes completely or independently. Quote, see you in court, Mills said. Quote, enjoy your life after governor. Again, we heard that. Mills, who served as governor of Maine since 2019, is term limited and cannot seek re-election for a third consecutive term in 2026. Earlier Friday, Mills said the state, quote, will not be intimidated by the president's threats to withhold federal funds. Quote, if the president attempts to unilaterally deprive Maine school children from the benefit of federal funding, my administration and the Attorney General will take the appropriate and necessary legal action to restore that funding and the academic opportunity it provides, she said in a statement. Maine's Attorney General Aaron Frey called Trump's warning, quote, disturbing. Quote, any attempt by the president to cut federal funding in Maine unless trans athletes are restricted from playing sports would be illegal and in direct violation of court orders. Fortunately, though, the rule of law still applies in this country, and I will do everything in my power, to defend Maine's laws and block efforts by the president to bully and threaten us. So again, apparently this is from one of Trump's many executive orders, his anti-trans executive orders, and as the Hill notes, though the executive orders in many ways have the full force of law, they are not equal, they are not comparable, they certainly can't override congressional law as well. So I'm not a lawyer, I don't know what the legal merits are of of Governor Mills' case against Trump, or Attorney General Frey's case against Trump, but we'll see. But again, I just love the fact that he tried to single her out, intimidate her. She didn't take the bait. She calmly responded, and he was the one who was palpably triggered. With that in mind, though, I want to play some other clips from this governor's meeting because, of course, Trump being Trump said a number of unhinged, stupid, and dishonest things.
And she's going to be a fantastic secretary, and you'll do something with the eggs, because I'm hearing so much about eggs. You'll figure it out. You got to figure something out fast. But and we inherited all of the problems. You know, at some point, a few months down the road, we won't be able to say it's so much us. But the big things, really, we can blame other people for, to allow criminals in.
So again, Trump just openly admitting it. It's about the blame game. He feels that he has permission, that he is able to get away with blaming the Biden administration for things that are happening on his watch. Well, as we've discussed, thankfully, the polls are starting to reflect this shift, that the people are not buying it, that they are starting to buy the standard that actually Trump created before, which is anything that goes wrong during a presidency is the fault of the president himself. That was the standard that Trump and Republicans enthusiastically embraced when President Biden was in charge, right? Now that Trump's in charge, that standard is being used against him, and I love it, and I think we should continue to ruthlessly make that case, especially when Trump himself, as we've discussed in multiple videos, went out of his way during the campaign to lie to voters and say, if you vote for me, I will cut inflation and grocery prices and gas prices and energy prices on day one. We've played those clips ad nauseum. They are there, and Trump failed. He failed in his own standard, and these prices are skyrocketing. He should be held politically accountable, and it's up to Democrats to ruthlessly make that case. Here's another clip.
But we're actually going to Fort Knox because I want to see, do we have the gold? Do we still have whatever it is, tons of gold? I hope we do. Wouldn't that be disappointing? Fort Knox. You grow up hearing about Fort Knox. You can't get in. You can't even see it. Nobody sees it. You go there and the place is dry. Would that be terrible? There's another one.
So Elon Musk and Donald Trump have been ranting about Fort Knox for the past 48 or 72 hours. I'm not entirely sure if there's some sort of right-wing QAnon-based conspiracy theory that centers around Fort Knox. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Donald Trump recently watched the James Bond film Goldfinger. If I remember correctly, it's Goldfinger, where the Bond villain wants to irradiate the gold bullions in Fort Knox and try to cripple the wealth of the United States. I have no idea why he says this sort of thing, and he never actually articulates why Fort Knox needs to be inspected or what he's afraid of is happening and what evidence he has to support it. It's just, again, pure nonsense from this guy who the polls say is mentally unfit to be president, but regrettably is president nonetheless. Here's one more clip.
$50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. They gave 50.
And again, he's just still peddling this bullshit that USAID gave $100 million in condoms to Hamas. It's been fact-checked and debunked to hell and back. It is a falsehood. It is a lie. Anybody who says it is either ignorant, stupid, dishonest, perhaps a combination thereof. Donald Trump, of course, is famously all three of these things. But yeah, there you have it. I don't know if he was just discombobulated after Governor Mills humiliated him and told him to kick rocks. But yeah, Donald Trump once again displaying that he lacks the mental and character fitness to be president, threatening a Democratic governor and her constituents with the withholding of all federal assistance if she doesn't comply with a bigoted executive order. And that's where we are. And we're only 4 weeks in. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.